Good evening from Washington. You know, when the Pope landed here in the U.S., his car was actually the smallest in the motorcade, speaking to his humble nature. But his presence is creating the largest security protocol to keep everyone safe. Touchdown in America. And the start of a historic papal visit. Pope Francis was greeted by cheering crowds in our nation's capital. He shook hands with President Obama and the First Family, who he'll speak with Wednesday at the White House. Here in Washington, the Pope and the thousands of pilgrims traveling to see him will be met with unprecedented security, barricades, road closures, restrictions. The Secret Service says this will be the largest security operation in our nation's history.
Oh, good to see you guys.
Sister Simone Campbell lives here and will attend several papal events.
I understand there's 2 layers of screening. Your name has to be on lists, and there's always mix-ups. And then you have to have a lot of patience because you have to get there early, and then you have to have a lot of endurance for standing. But in the end, it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
This is what some Hoosiers will get this week, a ticket to see a first, a Pope addressing a joint session of Congress. Those tickets from local congressmen get them a standing spot on the lawn outside the Capitol with 25,000 of their closest friends.
My son gave me the ticket as a gift.
Carol Clancy will attend a Mass Wednesday afternoon when Pope Francis canonizes a new saint. It's an experience she'll share with 38 seminarians from Indiana.
I couldn't turn this down because it's really so special because he's such a unique Pope.
Pope Francis has a busy day tomorrow. The White House, a parade, the canonization mass, as well as meeting and praying with bishops. Of course, we'll be here for all of it. We'll talk to Hoosiers as well. Yeah, what a thrill to be able to meet Pope Francis in person. That's what young Hoosier seminarians experienced on a very busy day for Pope Francis. And just watch, when people meet the Pope, it's like they're meeting a rock star.
I'm deeply grateful for your welcome.
He met with political leaders talking tough subjects like climate change and poverty.
En nombre del Padre, del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo.
He celebrated Mass with religious leaders, canonizing a saint.
Y con nosotros.
But on his first full day in the U.S., Pope Francis spent a lot of time with regular American people.
We're just happy to be here and celebrate the Pope.
Thousands of them packed a parade route around the White House and outside the Basilica of the National Shrine.
Almost at the promised land.
Thousands more came with tickets in hand to attend Mass with Pope Francis, including 38 young men from an Indianapolis seminary.
On the bucket list for today would definitely be to shake the Pope's hand, so God willing, we'll see what happens.
This is not an everyday thing. It's pretty cool.
Especially for Indiana college students considering the priesthood. Meeting the Pope has deeper meaning. Meeting this Pope, even more so.
People just really seem to listen to Pope Francis and to see the love for Christ in him that you want to see in every Pope.
And every American who encountered Pope Francis at Mass, at the White House, on the streets of D.C. seemed to exude happiness that they had even a moment in his presence. On Thursday, many more people will get that chance when the papal visit shifts here to the Capitol. That's when Pope Francis will address a joint session of Congress. He is the first pontiff to do so. Many Hoosiers actually have tickets to sit on the lawn of the Capitol and watch the address. We hope to meet up with them, and we will share their thoughts on what they experienced tomorrow on Eyewitness News. On his final day in D.C., people thrilled to get just a glimpse of Pope Francis. Barricades can't block the energy he always seems to exude.
Kind of bring tears to my eyes. Just, yeah, it's amazing, something to remember for a lifetime.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you Pope Francis of the Holy See.
During a historic address to Congress, the pontiff spoke about compassion and unity, encouraging lawmakers to take action on tough issues like climate change, immigration, and caring for the poor.
We need to avoid a common temptation nowadays to discard whatever proves troublesome.
We've always embraced the opportunity to help others.
Indiana Senator Joe Donnelly says the Pope's speech was deeply moving, both as a public servant and personally as a Catholic.
He made everybody smile more. You could just see around the Capitol. Everybody was happier having him here and had a better feeling of faith and spirit and faith in the Lord by having him in the neighborhood, so to speak.
It was awesome to be there.
Pilgrims from Indy felt it. This was the view John and Regina McShay had from the Capitol lawn.
It was quite an honor. It was amazing. An amazing sense of peace and honor that you receive from being part of this historical moment. I think it's wonderful.
George Edwards was in the crowd of thousands, too.
Well, I felt moved. His Holiness reminded us in the United States that we are the home of hope and the home of dreams.
The IU Law School professor plans to share the Pope's message with his students, a message that inspired all Hoosiers who got a chance to see Pope Francis before he departed D.C. You know, as busy as his schedule was over this 3-day visit, here's what really struck me about Pope Francis. He made it a point to meet with as many regular folks as he could over that time. In fact, today, he declined lunch with lawmakers and fed the homeless instead. Now, we are wrapping up our trip here to Washington, D.C. Tomorrow night, we'll see you from Philadelphia. Welcome to the streets of Philadelphia. What a difference from Washington, D.C., where we were yesterday. A lot more people. You can see the crowds here on the streets of Philly. Also, you can see a lot of stands selling Pope memorabilia. This is something we did not see in the nation's capital. We have lots of buttons, lots of flags, also lots of families. This is the World Meeting of Families. In fact, we met up with some Hoosier families who were traveling with the Indy Archdiocese. They attended Mass today at St. John the Evangelist Catholic Church.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, peace be with you. Lord Jesus.
This is the foundation of their faith, and the reason dozens of families from Indy came so far to gather with people from around the world.
Even though not all of us are from the same place, being able to celebrate the Mass together is really wonderful.
They celebrated Friday with Archbishop Tobin. This weekend, they'll attend Mass with Pope Francis. Among tens of thousands of pilgrims. Protecting those crowds is serious. Already, roads are barricaded, police are out in force. Hoosier pilgrims have watched the city transform in both size and security.
Yeah, the beginning of the week, I guess, was just a lot of people, kind of like a normal conference, like downtown Indy would kind of be. And now there's like all kinds of stuff going on. There's a ton of police officers walking around everywhere.
And I heard dogs were around sniffing, and now we have to go through a checkpoint to get to dinner.
Of course, all of those Hoosiers enjoying all of the festivities, and the Pope hasn't even arrived yet. He will arrive in Philadelphia tomorrow morning. He will celebrate Mass, and the big event is his address on Independence Mall. We will bring you details of that tomorrow on Eyewitness News. You know, at Mass this morning, one of the priests said, "This is a city that would change its name to Francisville today." That's about right. The crowds here in Philly are huge, and they are all here because of Pope Francis. They crowded into Logan Circle with one goal.
So we're trying to get a glimpse of the Jumbotron.
A chance to see Pope Francis any way they could, even perching atop a traffic light for a better view. While the Pope celebrated Mass inside, families cozied up to barricades outside, staking spots for hours, long before they might see his motorcade. Raising their phones for a shot when they thought it just might happen. Joni and her kids got here at 10 a.m.
4. Oh, not after Mass? 4. Oh, bummer. We were hoping to catch a close to him this way because he's going to do a speech at Independence Mall.
Queridos amigos, buenas tardes.
That's when tens of thousands of pilgrims got to hear Pope Francis. Hoosiers were there. These are pictures from students at Cathedral along Independence Mall.
The energy in the city is just enormous.
For families like the DeLacas, this is the experience of a lifetime, an adventure, they say, in faith.
It really is going to be a strengthening point for us and something that we can share together.
To make sure they do that safely, security is unprecedented in Philly. Take a look at the line to get through just one checkpoint. But for a chance to see and hear the Pope, Hoosiers say it's worth it.
We have been here since Monday, and I have seen the difference from Monday till now, but I'm glad I'm here. I am so glad that I am here.
Later tonight, the Pope will speak at the Festival of Families. That's where people will also enjoy live music and dancing. Aretha Franklin will perform, The Fray will perform, and Indiana's own stand-up comedian Jim Gaffigan will be there tonight. That's all hosted by Mark Wahlberg. So a lot of famous faces as well as the Pope this evening. He's known as the People's Pope, and this is why. Just look at the people. Tens of thousands of them who stood for hours for this moment. A chance to see Pope Francis in person. In the crowd, Matt Canada from Cathedral High School with this view. Seeing the Pope is just as important as his message for families like the DeLacas from Greenfield. 3 young ones in tow.
We have a fourth coming.
To show them the importance of sharing their faith.
To live it every day and in every moment with their friends, with things that they do in sports. And this was a way to show them and to bring them that there are so many other people all around the world that shares that same faith.
I made a couple friends. They're from Germany. I don't understand what they say, but they're very nice.
The papal events in Philly are focused on families. At the Festival of Families, people enjoyed singing and dance performances Saturday evening. Indiana comedian Jim Gaffigan performed as well.
Whoa, what are you guys doing here?
And Hoosiers enjoyed every minute of it. Here are some pictures of the group from Indy who traveled with the Archdiocese.
Buenas tardes.
Some of them were at Independence Hall earlier in the afternoon. That's where Pope Francis addressed immigration and religious freedom in front of a crowd of 40,000. He told immigrants not to be discouraged and challenged Americans to live up to their past, the ideals of religious liberty. In a city where liberty started, it's a message expected to resonate.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Long after the Pope leaves town, just like the experience of seeing him.
I think that the totality of everything that we've done this week probably isn't really going to sink in for another couple of weeks.
Tomorrow marks the final day for Pope Francis here in America. The biggest event, Mass, that he will celebrate right here tomorrow afternoon. More than 1 million people are expected to attend. When Hoosiers head home from Philly, it's this they'll remember most.
The crowd was roaring.
It's like the beginning of the Indy 500, just the crowd's going crazy.
The time the American people met the People's Pope.
Being right up in front, so we got to see the Pope. Literally, I could have reached out and touched him.
Even if just for a moment.
Well, we waited 10 hours just to see this.
That it was very quick, like 3 seconds.
We saw him waving, but he left the other side, but not us.
The past few days have been filled with faith and family for the Indy pilgrims, growing stronger in both.
Honestly, the best part is growing closer with my friends and my daughter and my mom, and having stories that we'll share as a family for the rest of our lives.
Renee and Shane Odom brought their newly adopted son on the trip.
The Lord blessed us with him this summer when we were least expecting it.
So experiencing this as a family.
This is the true definition right here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine being here with anyone other than my husband and him.
The memories are many for all of these Hoosiers, lasting images they say they'll cherish. The trip culminated Sunday in the streets of Philadelphia, celebrating Mass with the Pope.
Peace be with you.
And hundreds of thousands of fellow pilgrims.
Let us acknowledge.
All hearing a message of hope. The entire week, they say, has been the experience of a lifetime.
Inspiring.
Amazing. Love.
Just peace.
Pope Francis left for Rome after thanking the hundreds of volunteers who made his trip here in Philadelphia run smoothly. He also thanked those who helped in Washington, D.C. and in New York City. He said, quote, "Days with you have been brief, but they have been days filled with grace." We have had a wonderful time covering this event for you as well. It has been very enjoyable. Now we are headed back to Indianapolis.